Bryce here with Mundo Media. We'll be ranking today the 12 Friday the 13th films. So, if you guys are ready for that, sit back, relax, because this is in honor of Halloween if you're watching as of the video uploading the day. But if not, stay tuned anyways. And let's get right to it. So, coming in at number 12, we have Friday the 13th, Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. So, this is supposed to be the final Friday as advertised, but necessarily it didn't really become Jason's last solo outing. And this is coming in at number 9, mainly because it was a little out there, kind of experimented with some weird things that necessarily didn't click, and a lot of the characters weren't really vested well into, other than the fact that it goes on them back on many other things from the previous franchise, saying other things didn't count. A lot of plot holes interacted there. So that reason alone is the reason behind Friday the 13th that Jason Goes to Hell coming in at this spot. But one good redeeming thing about it is good, and it is interesting to have one of Jason's relatives be introduced as as the main protagonist in this film, and that was something different to see, as we haven't seen before one of Jason's relatives as a protagonist, as we've only seen one other relative, his mother, as one of the major characters. Coming in at number 11, we have Jason X, which is the final installment of Jason's solo series in the original franchise, and it focuses on Jason being frozen with another captive from the FBI, and they're frozen over time, eventually thawed out by this group of college students as they're venturing to Earth 1, is now called, where there's a new Earth and everybody's moved on. And on their journey back, Jason thaws out, and he begins his massacre against all the other kids. But the only thing is, differently, he kind of gets upgraded with all these tech supplies, and he's very more upgraded. It's very campy. If you're looking for campy, this is probably the most campiest one of all of them, but you get everything that you expect out of a Friday the 13th franchise with this. But it is interesting as well to see a futuristic side of Jason and other things he interacts with, as well as some other throwbacks to the franchise's go-to little plot devices or whatnot. So next we have Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, which features Tina Shepard right after the trilogy of films they had with the main protagonist Tommy, which we'll get into later. Tina is a daughter who lives near Crystal Lake growing up that eventually she accidentally kills her father because she has supernatural powers and he drowns. One night she goes out there wishing that he come back alive, but in the end she accidentally resurrects Jason. And after that, all the basic killings that you get from there go on, as many of her friends come over and eventually die in the old-fashioned way that you would expect from a Friday film. So after that, it kind of ends with just Jason going on and killing everybody but Tina and her love interest Nick until the very end. And this is when it kind of gets more supernatural. It's a second film to show Jason as a supernatural entity. And what happens is Tina's father comes out from the lake and drowns him, killing him again as he was dead at the beginning of the 7th film already. The next one we have is Jason Takes Manhattan, Part 8 of the Friday the 13th franchise. As this is the 8th film, it slowly starts to wind down, as previously the 7th film, they tried to make it more realistic as they were setting up for that Freddy crossover that eventually happens all the way in 2003. We'll get to that later. But this film focuses on Jason mainly on a cruise ship. It was falsely advertised. This is why a lot of people did not like the films, because everybody thought it'd be more in Manhattan. Only about the last 20-30 minutes of the film takes place in Manhattan, why over half of it takes place on a cruise ship. But I personally like this film a lot. It was very interesting and very different that you don't see in a lot of the other Friday films. At the next spot in our list, it is Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. And this one's kind of cut and dry. This one's a lot of iconic moments, as it was the first Friday film to feature Jason in the look that most people know him by, with the hockey mask on. And therefore, the rest of the film's cut and dry. You know, your camp counselors go to Crystal Lake and they're eventually taken off. Other than that, it's not really too much different, but it did set the tone, and that's why it's as high as it is on the list. All right, coming at number 7, we have Friday the 13th, 2009. It was supposed to be the start of a brand new Friday series of films that led into just one film, as sadly as it is. It's the most recent film that we've got to date with Fridays, as there were a Friday the 13th reboot already, another one planned in the works, but was recently canceled a couple months ago. But the thing is, this one focuses on the supernatural star Jared Padalecki as he goes looking for his sister. At the beginning of the movie, his sister goes with a bunch of friends, and immediately you think these are the main characters, and they're all slaughtered off. And that was something really interesting that you did not expect from a Friday film at all, and you've never seen. Is like they set these characters up, and immediately almost all of them, except for one, are killed. And it was very interesting to see how much this worked. Jared Padalecki, in my opinion, worked very well. He's probably my favorite actor out of the Friday films with his character arc. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people uh, gave a lot of backlash to the film, and that's why the franchise was never spawned out of that rebooted series of Friday films. All right, 6 is The New Beginning. It is the 5th film in the Friday series, and it is the second film of the trilogy that features main protagonist Tommy Jarvis, the most well-known protagonist out of the Friday series, as he's the one with the most appearances as a protagonist. And going there, this is one of the best Friday films you could ever have out there, except for there's one main flaw that leaves it so much lower on this list than it could be. And that's because Jason isn't Jason. It's just another guy dressed up as Jason, imitating Jason. As the original plan was to have Tommy Jarvis reveal himself as the new Jason and become the new villain of the franchise. But necessarily, that didn't work out as well because just the man, the only connection there was previously in the film, one of the other inmates or institutionalized people there killed his son, who was also institutionalized. So he went crazy and became Jason and went attacking the other members of this institutional place. So and that is pretty much what leads it up to. Everything else about the kills, everything was great. It was very well done. It was very crafted. It was one of the best films of the Friday series, but that holds it back just a little bit more. All right, number 7 is Friday the 13th. But wait, it's not. It's Freddy vs. Jason. It is the final movie to feature both Robert Englund's iteration of Freddy and the final film of Jason in the main continuity before he was rebooted in 2009. So let's get right into it. So the film kind of starts off with Jason still doing his own thing in Camp Crystal Lake, but Freddy has been forgotten about and no longer can attack on Elm Street. So he uses Jason as a way to get other people scared of him or fear of Freddy's name, so he could start coming back and killing more. And without that, the two start leading to working together until many of the high school students at Elm Street work together to plot against the two, where it leads off with the two battling at the very end with Jason coming off victorious, or so you think, because at the very end it shows Freddy look at the camera and wink, breaking the fourth wall, and also signaling that there's a chance, or was a chance, there could still be a second film to the crossover. Number 4 is Friday Part 2, which features two new protagonists of Jenny and Paul, which they come together and are both camp counselors at Crystal Lake 5 years after the events of the original film. And at the very beginning of the film, you wonder what happened to the main protagonist of the first, Alice. She's cut off immediately at the beginning of the film, and that sets a standard for what's to come. You can't expect anything from there. And this is the first appearance of Jason as the main antagonist, but he's not with the hockey mask. As I said earlier, in Part 3 is when he gets it. This time he has a paper bag over his head with just one hole in it so he can see through one eye. And this is very interesting because at the very end, what makes this film one of the most questioned and has the most questions of and unanswered things is because the main protagonist of Jenny falls asleep after the attack of Jason, after Paul is drug out of the window, and when she wakes up, Jason's gone and Paul's nowhere to be seen. They never said there was a body found or nothing. Paul's not dead; he's missing, and they've never answered that question of where's Paul to this day. Coming at number 3, we have the original film, Friday the 13th, in here. That takes us all the way back to the beginning, which is where Jason's not even really a villain. He's just really shows up at the very end as a little kid jumping on Alice, but apparently it was all a dream. But the thing is, this is the film that features Kurt Russell in it. And that's crazy as is, but he eventually was killed off as most of all the other counselors, except for Alice, because Alice was able to find out who the killer was, which was Jason's mother, and they square off, and then she eventually beheads uh, his mother with the machete that Jason becomes known for. And that set the tone for the entire series right there, as that was one of the most biggest movies of the year that it came out, and very good and very enjoyable for everybody to watch every year. Coming at number two, we have the final chapter. It was supposed to be the final Friday film, but considering there's six more after this, it didn't become that case. But the thing is, it follows Trish and Tommy Jarvis. This is the first film in Tommy Jarvis's set of trilogy that he had, and it features him as a 12-year-old and Trish as a teenager. And where it goes from there is that this is the film where Jason is pretty much the last time we see him as just a normal human being attacking the counselor, attacking people in general. Actually, there's no counselors in this one, and just from there he goes off in his fights, or actually not really fights, but just kills. And at the very end, it shows Tommy dressing up as a young Jason, distracting him long enough for the final blow that eventually showed Trish getting in his way, and then she distracted him with Tommy grabbing the machete, stabbing Jason in the head, and just repetitively killed him, or repetitively stabbed him with the machete, leading to the death of Jason, as everybody knew him at the time. All right, number one. It is Jason Lives, the sixth part in the Friday film, and it is the best one as it opens up with Tommy going and stabbing Jason's corpse to make sure he's dead after some nightmares, only for lightning to strike on Jason's body and bring him back into the supernatural form. The first film that Jason is a supernatural entity that most people know him as, and this is incredible. Seeing how that the start of Jason, as many people know, the film is great. There's a lot of depth to its story, depth and depth actually, but it definitely is one of the best films in the Friday franchise. To me, it is the best, and yeah, that's Friday Part 6. You should definitely watch this one. You should watch all the others too. So yeah, that's our list. If you guys liked what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments. Let us know what you'd like to see next. Let what you know what you'd like to see from us. Like what kind of like difference changes. As always, guys, thanks for watching and take care.